بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا دائم الفضل على البرية، يا باسط اليدين بالعطية، يا صاحب المواهب السنية، صل على محمد وآله خير الورى سجيا، واغفر لنا يا ذا العلا في هذه العشية. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء، وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء، وخضع لها كل شيء، وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بخيانتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترز فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك. فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاؤك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. إلهي فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي، يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي، إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك، هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، فأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة ما كان الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه يسير بقاء قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاء عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربه؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك. وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك، أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها، وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسرته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي. وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق تبسط أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بفقري وفاقتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة، وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من إليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبارزين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكيده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، واجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واخبر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل به ما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على محمد والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for Dua Kumail, our own Sheikh Tajri recited as well. Thank you, Brother Mateen. So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Salam. In order to keep us on time, I'm going to speed through tonight's announcements. You may be familiar, but just for the sake of repetition, in case of an emergency, the exits are located at the back of the chapel, the main entrance outside of the chapel, and the double doors by the dining room, also by the dining room with the washrooms. This year's lecture series is sponsored on behalf of the marhumin whose names are displayed on the TV screen located outside the chapel. Please can recite Surah Fatiha or observe a moment's silence for these and all marhumin. There is still an opportunity to sponsor the programs or even donate towards the Gaza humanitarian crisis via UK registered Beta Charitable Trust, which will provide essential food supplies, medical aid, and clean water to those suffering in Gaza. Time for Change, in conjunction with Husayn, will also be running a food drive for the homeless on Ashura Day. So that's on Wednesday, 17th July in Birmingham City Centre. You can donate towards these causes in the foyer. Starting from Tuesday, the 23rd of July, 2024, AMI will be hosting a Quranic circle led by AMI faculty to explore the deeper meanings of the Quran and understand the profound insights it offers for humanity. The sessions are free to attend for all and will be held in-house at AMI and online. To find out more or register, please visit ami.is/Quranic circle or scan the QR code on the TV screens in the foyer. In these 10 nights, there's also an offer just to yourselves who are available in person. The books on God centricity by Sheikh Arif are available for £40 for the entire set, so that's 5 books. And you'll be happy to know, our youngest attendees, that there is a workshop arranged for them on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of July. The workshop is for children in reception to Year 6, alongside the main Muharram programs. These workshops will be focused on creating a mural on the lessons learned from Imam Husayn and Surah Al-Fajr, which has been used as one of the topics in the lecture. To register your children's interest, please visit ami.is/Muharram-kids. Some more programming reminders. Tomorrow night's program will start at 8:15 p.m. with Quran lecture by Dr. Imranali Panjwani, Matam, Ziyarat and refreshments. And that's all for announcements. Before I ask Sheikh to take his seat for tonight's lecture, can I ask you all to move far forward as possible, all the way to the front, and recite 3 loud salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Salawat, please. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. صلوات. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah. For those of you attended yesterday, it's because of us, England won. Those that didn't, it wasn't because of you. Salawat, please. You're the loudest, but you know, exactly. Yes, some of the loudest salawat, but for those people that weren't there. So I'm not sure what that means. So you were not there as well then. Okay, inshallah. By grace of Allah, we are continuing, inshallah, a topic I do hope you find interesting, and it is something from my heart and my research, which is about this beautiful, transcendental, and spiritual journey of Rasulullah, peace be upon him, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then of course Allah revealing the Qur'an to him. We concluded yesterday by examining this process, right? In Suratul Muzzammil, we found that at various points in the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching our beloved Prophet, giving him that flexibility, the options to pray, nurturing his heart in Salatul Layl, increasing his patience, correcting his speech, and ultimately even teaching him how to recite and reflect over verses of the Quran. And the mystical interpretations have argued that this was necessary for our beloved Prophet. Because if this training or tarbiyah was not there, then that recklessness that taish or ittirab, that disturbance, would have remained in the Prophet's soul at the time when that physical and verbal abuse was coming in the form of names, as you all know, Majnoon, Sahir, Kahin, and all of these names. Okay? So I want to go a bit deeper, inshallah, and I'll begin with a quote as to why I'm taking my time. And this is a quote from a very well-known scholar who I'm sure you have heard of, Mullah Sadra, rahmatullahi alayh, 17th century Safavid scholar. And if you have known anything about his biography, you can even, if you want a brief biography, fine, look at Wikipedia. But there's a nice serial or series in Farsi, and it's got English subtitles, from darkness to brightness, something like that. It's a very nice series. I'm saying it because you can see the struggles that a scholar goes through when he advances a new idea, because he was rejected in his own time, because he tried to combine mysticism, philosophy, theology. He combined these things to come up with his wonderful work of the four journeys, Asfa al-Arba'a. And I'm just giving a quote from there, okay? By the way, he is now obviously widely read. So when people begin to realize that, oh yeah, he had a good idea, then they regret what they did. But then we kind of regressed how many centuries? Anyway, it's life, I think. So he says, and this is volume 1, page 13, but it's a famous quote. You'll find it in many places. He says, there are four journeys that exist for the seekers amongst the mystics, amongst the urafa and the divine authorities. These are the journey of men towards God. Okay, obviously in that time men was a common language, so I'm not trying to exclude women. This is the first one is the journey from men towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See what we are examining. Journey of the Prophet to God. Then the second one is journeying along with God with him. So once you journey towards God, then it's like you're holding his hand, or you are journeying along with him. Okay, so you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the second journey. You're not going upwards, but you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third one is that once you have journeyed with Allah, then you journey from Allah back to human beings. That's your third journey. So you go back. So once you have had that transcendental experience, what you want to say, revelation, then you come back down to human beings. And the fourth one is that you journey amongst human beings, but with God there with you. Okay? Does that make sense, everyone? You want me to repeat or not? You got it? So you journey towards God, and then you are journeying with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then you come back down to human beings, and then once you're with human beings, God is there beside you, to put it very simply, all right? Okay? Now, I've said this because my humble examination, I'm not trying to advance anything new. This concept is there within our Islamic tradition and from amongst our great ulama. What I'm just trying to do is, I guess, sieve it through the Qur'an, sieve it through the order in which it was revealed, and more importantly, look at its implications on our sciences. The way we have looked at tafsir, the way we have looked at theology, the way we've looked at the biography of the Prophet. This concept of looking deeply at how our beloved Prophet is receiving revelation may transform the way we approach our obligations, our fiqh, teach our children, and we want to become close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salawat, please. Now, there is to reinforce this point, because we ended on the point of Ibn Arabi saying that this process was so important that any type of recklessness, disturbance, whatever anxiety was feeling would be removed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to give you a second quote, and that is from Allama Tabatabai in Al-Mizan. This is in his interpretation of Alladhi Allama bil Qalam from Surah Al-Alaq. He who taught by the pen. Now, the very simplistic understanding, which is what I think we have grown up with, is that yes, Allah teaches the Prophet, and the Prophet receives the revelation, and he is knowledgeable. This is what we hear. But what is actually happening according to the hadith and his interpretation? He says that this alladhi allama bil qalam, he who taught by the pen, it is a speech that was conveyed to strengthen the soul of the Prophet. Okay? لِتَقْوِيَةٍ نَفْسِ النَّبِي. In fact, it reflects the verse of, if I'm correct, Suratul Furqan, verse 32 that we recited yesterday, that the Qur'an was revealed in stages to strengthen his heart. And it was to remove the apprehension or distress and uneasiness. Okay? وَإِزَالَةِ الْقَلِقِ وَالْإِضْطِرَابِ. So that was he was feeling. And once this was removed, he was ordered to recite these verses while he was unlettered or ummi. Because, according to Allama Tabatabai, the Prophet could not read or write. And so Allah is trying to say, read this book from the one, or recite from one who is inspiring to you, who is giving you the inspiration. He, Allah, is the one who teaches human beings by means of recitation, by means of the pen. So it is Allah who is making you recite, enabling you to recite, while you are ummi. Okay? Why have I said this? Because in those spiritual journeys, in order for that person to, once he is there with Allah, and now in the second journey, he is with Allah. When he is with Allah, there cannot be anything of himself. Now, we had some discussion with my respected teacher a couple of days ago, very brief for 5 minutes, about ego and I, which is, I think, our biggest problem. Yes, that we think we are important. And so at the second stage, where Rasulullah, peace upon him, is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there can be no Muhammad, there can be no I of Muhammad. The Prophet cannot dictate what is happening. He cannot dictate with his desires what he wants. He cannot dictate what he wants from the society. He cannot dictate how he wants revelation to be done. He cannot dictate any of this. This is why this ummi concept is very important. Because ummi has various meanings. One means unlettered. Simply that he couldn't read or write, which I've explained, I don't want to repeat it. Reading and writing wasn't a norm in the society. The second meaning is that he's unscriptured. So that means the Prophet did not receive any revelation beforehand. And that's what he was accused of throughout the Qur'an. They said, you, O Prophet, or Muhammad, they didn't believe he was a prophet, you, O Muhammad, have gone into the cave of Hira and you've copied the Bible and you've copied the Torah. That's what they used to accuse him of. So he's unscriptured because he has had no previous knowledge of the previous revelations. The third one, which you will find in Orientalist books, is that he is illiterate, right? Now, of course, illiterate, fine, you can say it is a translation, but it can have a connotation that you lack intelligence, which the Prophet didn't lack. But that meaning is there, and sometimes that has been used in a derogatory way to put down the Prophet from those people that did not want to see Islam as being advanced. And the last one is a simple one, that Ummi simply means he comes from Ummul Qura, the mother of villages, which is Makkah. Right? So there are various meanings of this. The bottom line is the Prophet did not know something, and further, which is what I want to humbly add, he had to empty himself of his own ego, desires, and whatever he wanted for society. I want to just give a practical example here. Whenever we take a position at work or in the society or the community, right? What is very normal that presidents advance? Their agenda, vision statement, right? And you see the picture there, and they're advancing themselves. I'm not trying to make a judgment of good and bad. I'm just trying to tell you how it relates to the Prophet. So they're advancing themselves. They're advancing what they want. That's the contemporary trend. And then it's all over social media. Okay? Now, the Prophet himself, you might say, well, that's not the best example because, we have to relate to everybody and we have to tell people our vision and all that. I accept that. That is a valid criticism. But the issue is that even if you are standing for something or you want to do something, fundamentally, what has to be guiding that process is not what you necessarily want for society. It is what God wants for the society. What is God's will? What is God's expectation? Now, it might be difficult, you might say, for a president, a corporate person, any of us, a teacher, right, to empty ourselves of this kind of what we want. But that's what the Prophet did. I still think that is possible today. I still believe it's possible because Imam al-Islam gave that same advice to Malik al-Ashtar when he was the governor. He gave that same advice that empty yourself of your desires, treat your subjects with mercy, and always obey the will of Allah. Do not make God as your opponent. And I think what happens, we've just had an election, right? And I don't have confidence in either major party anyway. But whatever you want to say within secular terms, even within Muslim countries, even within what is a trend on social media, which is the promotion of I and the promotion of image, that sense of humility, that sense of removing oneself from what I expect or you expect and what God expects, I think is becoming increasingly challenging. And I think that is also why we then find that there is more sometimes destruction or ego, and these things come into debates because a person hasn't been able to be humble and listen to someone else. Salawat. Okay. So, have I been clear about these journeys, everybody? Yes? Okay. Let's just go a bit deeper. Salawat, please. So, need to turn the page. Yes, okay. The reason I turn my page, so I want to be quite specific, okay, is that if we accept that our beloved Prophet is moving towards Allah, and when he's with Allah, he's being taught. He's being taught at night. We accepted that yesterday. Well, hopefully you accepted it, okay? If he's being taught at night, the next question is that third journey. When he is coming from Allah to human beings, and then when he's with human beings, my simple question throughout my research and in examining the tafsir is this: is there a trial and error period for the Prophet to implement the lessons that he has been taught? So, when we go to school or when we're taught by our parents, we're given instructions. Stand up for elders, respect elders, get this, whatever it is. You go to school and you're taught sciences. But to implement those instructions and to continually practice your mathematical skills or English skills or grammar skills or your moral skills, your skills of akhlaq or traits of akhlaq is difficult because you have to be disciplined about it, right? That's why we make mistakes. That's why we're negligent. And that's why we commit sins. Because if everything was that easy, that if the teacher teaches me and I get it, and my job is done, then I would say all scholars, all students would be the best scholars, the best human beings ever. Because we attend so many classes. But I am not, at least, okay? MashaAllah, my teachers, other people much better than me. But my point is that we would be the best because we'd go to school, university, MA, PhD, yeah, we're going to work, so many training, corporate training, professional training, which I avoid. I got an email today, I'm not doing it, trying to avoid all the mandatory training. Anyway, my point is that all of these things that we are doing, right? Hopefully they're not listening, but I don't think they are because I didn't give them the link. So All of these things that we are told is theoretical, right? It's nadari, it's all theoretical. But when it comes to amali, when it comes to the practical, that is the biggest challenge, the biggest challenge. Can I put what I have learned into practice? So my question is the same with our beloved Prophet and all prophets. Even if our beloved Prophet was taught at night, even if Imam Ali was taught by the Prophet, even if our beloved Husayn alayhi salam was taught by Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, in the heat of the battle, in the arduousness of the journey, aren't there points where those great people feel weak? Where those people, there's a trial and error of what they're implementing, like they make a decision and maybe the decision doesn't turn out correctly. What then? And in fact, if you look at the route towards Karbala, it was like that because he was making decisions all the time. Okay, I'm starting in Medina, then I'm going to Makkah. I see pressure. I see my life being threatened by Walid ibn Utbah and others. So then I will move to a different place. I'm going to avoid Basra. I'm going to go here. And he ends up in Karbala. So a simple question in history is that he is making decisions. And that's why you have this whole discussion, oh, Imam Hussein knew everything, or he didn't know everything, or he knew something. Why? Because we are scared if a prophet or Imam makes a decision of error, or makes a mistake, or doesn't implement what they're expected to learn. You see this, you see the connection now, all right? But we've got to ask the question logically, right? Which is that practical teaching, how is this answered from the Qur'an and within our theology? So when they want to implement the lessons, is there a grace period by Allah or is it instant? Is it automatic? Salawat, please. Let's see how much we can do. Yes, okay. I want to do it first through the lens of theology and then the Quran. We have been using the Quran throughout, but it's the first time now that I'm moving towards ilmul kalam or theology. Why? Because we have to deal with the very concepts that we have grown up with or that we subscribe to. And that is isma, infallibility. Okay? We have to deal with it because I can't answer these questions without first maybe unraveling what we have learned and trying to understand it. Because whenever we start asking these questions, the immediate response by anybody is, but the Prophet or Imam is infallible. Yes? That's it. And then a lot of these nuanced questions which are relevant for our lives get lost. The questions that we need to train our children get lost. That's at least what I feel. As parents, myself, my wife, I'm trying to understand, okay, what was it and how did the Prophet implement these lessons, right? So the first thing is this, that in front of me, I have various references, okay? And I am going to read them out word for word. So we understand when we have been young, what infallibility actually means, and does it include these questions about learning, implementation, trial, error, mistake, and sin, okay? The first thing, isma itself, just as a word, comes from asama ya'simu. Asama ya'simu means to hold back, restrain, curb, prevent, preserve, and safeguard. That's the original meaning of this word isma that is used all the time. It's to prevent, to hinder, to restrain. And so when you say isma, usually we just say infallibility, right? Or sinlessness. Well, actually, it just simply means preservation, safeguarding, and protection. That's really the root meaning of it, right? And in fact, the definition that I humbly came up with, others may have come up with much better, is I think isma means protective abstinence, not infallibility. Protective abstinence. Protection by Allah through lutf, grace, and abstinence or abstaining or refraining, which the Prophet practices. That to me gives you the human dimension, and it also gives you the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? Now, the second point is, why do we have this notion? Why do we have infallibility in the first place anyway? What's the point of it? The main reason for infallibility is very simple. It is that we have to be able to trust God's message, which is given to our beloved Prophet. And if the Prophet sinned or lied and didn't tell the truth or was a hypocrite and said something in public but then behind was doing something else, right? Then we can't trust him. And if we can't trust him, well, we can't then receive the Qur'an. You see how it all works then, right? So the Prophet is the link to God. So the Prophet has to be a sinless conduit, a sinless means by which we can receive the revelation. Right? Okay? Salawat. Right. Have I been clear, everybody? Right. Now the second point, which may be on your minds. Well, okay, that's nice. I think that's a good argument. Okay, it is a good argument. But then what about these human dimensions we've been discussing? Right? You know, do they have this? Do prophets have desires? Do imams have desires? Do they get angry? Can they disobey Allah? What about all of that? Right? These are the questions which most people ask, and generally there isn't a clarification, right? So this is from Muhadirat fil Ilahiyat by Ayatollah Jafar Subhani, page 282. He says the following: the ma'asum, or the, let's just say infallible because you know what it means. The ma'asum or infallible is potentially able to commit disobedience. So they are able to disobey Allah. That's from one of our respected Shia scholars. They are able to disobey Allah by the fact that they have been, Allah has given them the qudra, the ability to disobey Allah. They've got the ability to disobey Allah, and they've been given the freedom, the free will to do it. Number one. So that's a clarification for anyone that says that they don't have the power or capacity to disobey. No, they have the power and capacity to disobey. Number one. Except illa, or except that his taqwa, the Prophet's taqwa, sublime God consciousness, and ilm, knowledge of the effects of sin, ma'asiyah, and basira, perception of the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, stops them from sinning. Okay? What it means is exactly what we have been discussing. We have been talking about the training of the Prophet, the increasing taqwa, the increasing knowledge. Because of the taqwa and the knowledge, they do not sin. All right? One step further. This is a quote from Allama Tabatabai Al-Mizan, volume 11, page 163. Allama Tabatabai gives an example here. Because you might say, well, what's an example that we can use to clarify this? He says that having isma doesn't change human nature and freedom. It doesn't. All right? And in fact, not only that, the best way we can describe it is this. It is like the flawless student in class who is completely certain that the reality of a liquid in front of him or her is poison. And that poison will kill him or her, leading to his death. So he or she resists and abstains from drinking that liquid out of his free choice. I think that's a nice way of putting it. That our beloved Prophet sees the effects of anger, sees the effects of lying, sees the effects of hypocrisy. He says, I don't think I will do it. Not only he says, I'm not going to do it, but he has the moral resilience not to do it. Now you can actually see that isma is something that is accomplished through the effort of Rasulullah, and Allah bestows further grace upon himself. So I'll pose you now a question. can we obtain isma? Can we obtain isma? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, mashallah, some people are saying yes. Anybody that's listening to me on YouTube, I didn't say yes, people said yes. Okay? So some people, I'm not saying all, some people said yes. Okay? And I think, mashallah, I agree that you have a valid point, but within a degree and within a limitation. So I just want to give maybe our example or my example. I have not had a sip of alcohol in my life. I haven't, right? Why? Because my dear father and mother never had alcohol in the household. And as a family, uncles, aunties, mother side, father side, and I'm sure similar to all of you, we have never seen it, never smelt it until university. All right? And in university, I smelt a lot of it, right? Okay? So my point is, I've never had a sip of it. And I don't want to, I have no inclination towards it. I don't have a yearn to go inside a pub. So the question we have to ask is, have we accomplished that isma in that action? And I would humbly argue, yes, we have. In that action, we have accomplished isma. We have, because it's exactly what our theological texts say. We have no inclination, we are disciplined, and through our freedom we are making the decision, and Allah through His grace has protected us like that. But there is a difference, which is with the Prophet, he was able to apply isma or protective abstinence in virtually all of his moral actions. In lying, in backbiting, in patience. He could have that isma in more than one. Right? Now, inshallah, that makes sense to you, I hope, that isma isn't a far-fetched concept. It's quite a realistic concept according to our respected ulama. But still, even with their very beautiful arguments, there are still some limitations with their arguments, which then causes problems when we want to explore the human dimensions of the Prophet. Salawat, please. What are these limitations? In addition to this concept, our Shia scholars bring in the concept of nufur. Nufur means that we cannot be averse to the Prophet. We cannot dislike the Prophet. We should find the Prophet attractive. We should be drawn to the Prophet. When I say the Prophet, I mean his personality, his body, his face, and his habits. And if any one of those, there's a problem with it. If the Prophet has an illness, if the Prophet has an odd-shaped body, if the Prophet is maybe not reasonable or handsome looking, if the Prophet has a particular illness and it causes us to say, I don't really like the look of this person, I'm not going to talk to this person. And even if what he's saying is nice, right, I'm not really want to be in his company. If there is any feeling like that, which is known as nufur, that feeling cannot be possible with our beloved prophets, and you could extend this to the imams and other prophets as well. Okay, and that is in for example, Al-Bab al-Hadi al-Ashar, Kashf al-Murad. These are major theological textbooks which by Al-Mahdi, which has this concept. Okay, now why am I spending time on it? Because I want to read this to you and see maybe why, arguably, we may have made the Prophet or Imams superhuman, and we find that this discussion that we are having is generally not a discussion that we have had from the mimbar or in madrasa or in communities. Why haven't we had it? Why do we find it sensitive? Because of this kind of quote, and I'll read this to you. This is from Al-Bab al-Hadi al-Ashar, page 64, okay? Al-Mahdi says, it is necessary that the Prophet has the perfection of intellect, is wise, is astute, and has firm thinking. Then he says the Prophet cannot be negligent, he cannot engage in debauchery of his male and female ancestors. That means if his ancestors did something bad, he could not do it, and he should not maybe have that kind of lineage. And the Prophet cannot be harsh. He cannot be a harsh person. And he cannot make any mistakes, not even sins, mistakes. He can't make mistakes. And he cannot engage in passive pedastry, which the children here don't want to say, it's particular type of relations with boys and things. They mention that because that seemed to be a practice of some previous civilizations. And he cannot have an imperfect mind. And he cannot eat whilst traveling. A prophet cannot eat whilst walking or traveling on the camel. And in another one, and please don't laugh at this because it's there, he cannot have repeated passing of wind. Okay? Yeah, everybody laughs at it, but it is there. All right? Okay. Sorry, one more I forgot. It's that two more. He cannot have an occupation which people would dislike or which is maybe lowly. And he cannot have any physical deformity. Elephantiasis, if I said it correctly? Somebody correct me? Yes, elephantiasis, yes. So any kind of deformity perhaps on the body, all right? Maybe skin condition, he can't have anything like that, all right? Now, this concept has caused problems because now if you look at the Qur'an speaks opposite to this. Because Prophet Musa alayhi salam arguably had an issue speaking, or had an issue speaking certain words, okay? And Rabbi shrah li sadri, for example, right? When he says that dua. Prophet Ya'qub alayhi salam cried for his son until his eyes became white or blind. Yes? And not only that, we said 2 lectures ago only that our beloved Prophet, according to the hadith and all the seerah, he was faqir, he was poor. He was a shepherd and he was a laborer. And he was working under Lady Khadija, salamullahi alayha, in a male-dominated society. And not only that, he was riding a camel. So are we saying that the Prophet never took a sip of water while riding a camel? Are we also saying that being poor was a lowly thing, even though it might have been good for his spiritual growth? Are we also saying that working under a woman was problematic? Are we also saying that being a shepherd was a problem? Are we saying that Prophet Yaqub shouldn't have cried till his eyes became blind? Prophet Ayub alayhi salam, when he lost his wealth, is that something then that would cause nufur? Do you see all the points I'm making to you, right? What it tells us is, yes, our respected Shia scholars have come up with wonderful arguments to try to protect the revelation. I think that is good. But where sometimes, maybe, there has been imbalance, and which has then, I think, caused us nufur in the sense that we feel we don't want to find out about the Prophet because we think he's too high. That's all another type of nufur, you can say. We find, I forget, as I was told since I joined the Hawza here, I joined, 24? Yes, no, 22. So whenever I joined here, 22, when I joined here, I heard for 20 years of my life, you can never be like the Prophet. You can never be like Imam Ali. Imam Ali is something else. I was told so many times, I heard in so many majalis. So then people say, what's the point? And then when that question comes, what's the point, is a dangerous thing. Because what's the point has 2 implications. It means either you leave religion and you only come to mosque on Ashura or Muharram, which is also what happens, or your whole existence, your identity as a Muslim is basically just one big ritual, and it's very external. There's no feeling there. You see that? Whereas if we have the confidence to say, I can accomplish what the Prophet has accomplished within my limitations, then you get that spiritual confidence. You get that beauty. You want to follow al-Husayn alayhi salam to the plains of Karbala. You want to say, I can stand with you, Hussein, because I can get your strength. I can get your patience. That's the confidence then our youngsters require. That's the confidence that you see in the Palestinians currently, that whatever the case, they are standing there in Palestine. They are standing there come what may. That confidence is not just a confidence to protect land. It is a spiritual and moral confidence in the hardest and harshest of circumstances. And so when you look at, in fact, the Prophet's own life, fleeing to Medina, you look at Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam being martyred in Masjid al-Kufa. You look at Imam Hassan alayhi salam when people are attacking him while he's giving a khutbah. You look at al-Husayn alayhi salam being martyred. All of these instances demonstrates what? That they themselves consider that they can challenge their moral and intellectual capacity all the time to move upwards. As I said, Imam Hussein was of a different station before Karbala. He was higher after he was martyred. Imam Hassan alayhi salam at the start of his life was not the same Imam Hassan towards the end of his life. He challenged himself, he increased his patience, he increased his vision for the society. You see all the growth here, you see development. So if then we accept tadrij and we are accepting this kind of development and stages, then we can now say, oh wait, there is maybe a trial and error period. There is decisions, there is correct and incorrect decisions. There are decisions being taken by Prophet and Imams to say, if I do this, what will happen to my soul? Am I implementing God's teaching in the right way? Salawat, please. I have few minutes and I just want to conclude before the maktal, because then I want to move on to this continuing topic tomorrow. I don't want to read this theology stuff to you. It's very dry, all right? I'm just saying three things, okay? Three things. These following 3 points that I am humbly saying, in a way, doesn't affect the concept of Isma as it is. It doesn't. But also, it can, I think, review it or it can reform it in some way. Number one, and this is what I feel the current theology doesn't really take into account, that fear, anxiety, and worry of the Prophet, which he overcomes, like in Surah Al-Muzzammil, that is not considered there in the theology books. So we don't look at that process. So there was a trial period. See, what did I read out? That the Prophet has to have a firm mind. Yeah, but did he always have a firm mind? Was he always firm thinking? Was he always wise? Then why then were these verses revealed? Why had to go at night and pray Salatul Layl then, if everything was fine? Do you see that? So fear, anxiety, and worry is there, and then it is removed in a process. Number two, the gradual development, and that's what I want to focus on tomorrow. The gradual development of the Prophet's moral character. Gradual, not instantaneous. Gradual development of the morality and intellect as he's growing up, his memory being strengthened, his capacity to make decisions being strengthened. And the last one, habits and conventions, which in fact are viewed positively today. Maybe majority of us will have a bottle of water while we walk, or grab a cup of coffee before we go on the train. Not only will we do that, even if you look at disabilities and illnesses, aren't disabilities celebrated today? At least in some Western societies. Would you accept that? Yes? Do you think the culture has changed? That people are always trying to remove the stigma of a disability. I remember I went with my family to the Paralympics. Paralympics to 2012, it's the only tickets I could get. But I'm saying that with a positivity, because when I went there, I was totally astounded. I swear to Allah. I was saying, Subhanallah, how much has humanity evolved that a man and a woman with no legs or no feet, they have got a metal kind of splice or I don't know how to describe it, right? A metal-aided foot, metal-aided leg, and they were running like a normal human being would run. Slightly slower, yes, but total mobility. I was astounded by that. I was saying, look at Allah, we say, is Sane, the maker, right? He has given that quality to us that we can revive human beings who are disabled and make them have a fulfilling life and celebrate their disability. Celebrate their disability. So now that means that maybe our respected Shia scholars looked at the history of our beloved Prophet through a very narrow lens. They did not look at actually human beings themselves actually want to solve the problems. And we don't find aversion. We want to help people. We are attracted to all kinds of people. Because if we're only attracted to a particular type of person that is perfect, what happens? Racism. Because then you think, I am the superior race, right? Only the blonde hair and the white faces of the Nazis is the superior race, or the blue-eyed, yes, and others. So there are huge theological implications and moral implications, which I can't explore further. Only to say, inshallah, tomorrow, we're going to now look at very specifically sins in the Qur'an, prophets making decisions which we have to look, are they error, sin, negligence? We will look at that to inshallah uncover this beautiful reality. Salawat, please. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. As we get closer to Yawmul Ashura, we are now beginning to lose the sons of the family of al-Husayn alayhi salam. And you know who these great shuhada are. Like Qasim, like Abbas alayhi salam, like Ali al-Akbar. But today, and sometimes we forget to look at even the sons of Al-Hasan alayhi salam. In Tariq al-Tabari, it is reported that Al-Hasan had a son by the name of Abdullah. And Abdullah was quite young, maybe one of the youngest martyrs in Karbala. It is reported that this person was there with Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha. But when he saw his uncle Hussein alayhi salam start moving out of the tent into the battlefield, Abdullah left the hand of Lady Zainab. He started to follow Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He said, Uncle, uncle, where are you going? If you go there, these people will kill you. At that instant, he sees a soldier and he's moving towards this one soldier on the side of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, advanced by Shimr. That soldier, he starts to speak to Abdullah, the young boy, saying that I'm going to sever the head of Hussein. Abdullah retorts back and says, No, O son of a terrible woman, you will not kill my uncle. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, and I will defend my uncle. And I was astounded to report this. But that soldier raised his sword and sliced or struck the hand of Abdullah, the arm of Abdullah. At that instant, Abdullah fell to the ground. Al-Husayn alayhi salam, in tears, is holding the body. And he says the following. He says that, O Abdullah, he says, have patience, isbir. Have patience on this calamity. Have patience, because now you will reunite with my father Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. You will reunite with my grandfather Muhammad Rasulullah. You will reunite with Hamza. You will reunite with your father Al-Hasan, who is waiting for you in heaven. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in tears, is telling a young boy with this strength and patience, Isbir, 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 have patience, have patience. Tell me, my brothers and sisters, if we were in this situation, if we were in Palestine today, if we were in countries around the world, where we are being slaughtered, our children is being slaughtered. How much strength and patience does it take for someone to say, a father or mother to say, Isbir, have patience, and for the child to undergo killing and martyrdom? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Rabbana la taj'alna ma'a qawmi dhalimin. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you today to please give us that strength and confidence that you gave to our beloved Prophet, that you gave to Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Husayn alayhi salam. Patience and strength and confidence in not committing sins, patience and confidence in standing up for justice. Oh Allah, please grant your mercy and strength to all those who are ill and oppressed around the world. Please forgive our sins and the sins of our marhumin. Surah Al-Fatiha. Matam al-Husayn. Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn.
حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، چلے آؤ کرب و بلا، اکیلا ہوا ہے حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، میرے حبیب اے میرے دوست، اے میری آنکھوں کے چین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، رجب میں مدینے سے نکلا تھا میں، محبت تھی جس سے وہ گھر چھوڑ کر، میں سہتا رہا سختیاں ہے حبیب، رسول خدا کا شہر چھوڑ کر، چلے آؤ کرب و بلا، اکیلا ہوا ہے حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، میرے حبیب اے میرے دوست، اے میری آنکھوں کے چین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، بہت مختصر سا ہے لشکر میرا، مقابل تو میرے ہے لاکھوں عدو، وفادار بھی ہو بہادر بھی ہو، نظر ڈھونڈتی ہے تمہیں چار سو، چلے آؤ کرب و بلا، اکیلا ہوا ہے حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، میرے خون کے پیاسے ہیں یہ اہل شر، میرے قتل کی ہے یہ تیاریاں، لعینوں کی تیغیں بھی ہے منتظر، تمہاری ضرورت ہے مجھ کو یہاں، چلے آؤ کرب و بلا، اکیلا ہوا ہے حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، میرے حبیب اے میرے دوست، اے میری آنکھوں کے چین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، ابھی میرا مقتل سجا بھی نہیں، مگر مجھ پہ روتی ہے کرب و بلا، میری بے کسی کا ہے جو مرثیہ، اگر سننا چاہو تو ہے ہم نوا، چلے آؤ کرب و بلا، اکیلا ہوا ہے حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، یہ تحریر پڑھتے ہی نکلے حبیب تو رہوار روکا سر کربلا، کیا آ کے شہ کو سلام وفا، حبیب ہزی سے یہ شہ نے کہا، اچھا کیا اے حبیب تم یہاں گئے، میرے حبیب اے میرے دوست، اے میری آنکھوں کے چین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، یہ دیکھو مصائب یہ دیکھو ستم، کہاں میرے خیمے کہاں القمہ، جو دل پر ہے گزری سناؤں گا میں، جو تم آ گئے ہو دلاسا ملا، اچھا کیا اے حبیب تم یہاں گئے، میرے حبیب اے میرے دوست، اے میری آنکھوں کے چین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، حبیب تم پر سلام حسین، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا ابا عبداللہ یا حسین یا ابا عبداللہ یا حسین یا ابا عبداللہ یا حسین. I saw angels falling for you, and their wings laid before you, where they walk to your final rest, Ya Hussein. In the city that is yours now, where they whisper and they call out, so they mourn until they find life, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, I remain here without walking, Ya Hussein. in the footsteps of the orphans, Ya Husayn, and my soul is in darkness, Ya Husayn, oh Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn, oh Ya Husayn, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Husayn, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Husayn, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Husayn. पिसर हैदर कर्रार तू मेरा सैयद व सरदार और मैं हूँ तेरा बंदा या हुसैन मैंने इज्जत में मौला और कुछ भी नहीं चाहा इश्क जो मिल गया तेरा या हुसैन या हुसैन मेरे दिल में है यह हसरत या हुसैन कर लूँ मैं तेरी जियारत या हुसैन काश अरमा हो ये पूरा या हुसैन या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन If I fly there as I'm dreaming, will I know him when I see him? Or have I been blinded by my sins, Ya Hussein? In my deep soul is Yazid here. If he leads me, will you be there to give me back this freedom, Ya Hussein? Ya Hussein, did you call me? Am I deaf now? Ya Hussein, have we lost you? Are we dead now? Ya Hussein, has my spirit been dissolved? Ya Hussein, oh Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, oh Ya Hussein, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Hussein, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Hussein, Ya Aba Abdullah, Ya Hussein. दो जहां में वो तेरा दर सब चले आए जहां पर करने दीदार खुदा का या हुसैन हिजर में तेरे कज़ा है शहर में तेरे बका है पास अब जल्द बुलाना या हुसैन या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन everyone या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन या अबा अब्दुल्लाह या हुसैन तवज्जो ज़रा السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوسيين السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء سلطان أبا الحسن مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن أجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله تعالى مخرجه وظهوره ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك طوعا وتمتيه